What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Everything USA Prime. I am your host, as always, Nick Swanson. This is the podcast where, again, we dive into everything across the country, from USA Prime Network type stuff, the people, the regions, the culture, and the vision behind what we are currently building around the nation. Today's episode, we got two awesome guests. From USA Prime Cavemen, right out of Texas, the heart of USA Prime. So joining us today is Mark Garcia and Kendall Clark. Again, we're excited to talk about their background, how Prime has impacted their local baseball and softball community, how they approach development, the culture, and to kind of check out what we have going on in the future. So Mark and Kendall, we appreciate you guys kind of coming on and excited to have you on with us.
Well, thank you, Nick. I appreciate what you're doing for the organization.
Hey, I appreciate it. We're excited to kind of head in this direction and hear from you guys and kind of see what's going on in Texas. So I'll start, Mark. Let's start off with you. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, kind of explain the role within USA Prime, and then Kendall, we'll go right to you right after.
Yeah, Mark Garcia. I got at USA Prime on the ground level. Ryan Nelson and John Frankel started together, and I got in at that level right there. I had my own facility. It was pre-COVID. They came over, had a meeting. I really liked it. I knew Ryan really well, or pretty well, through the select scene, so to speak. We had some good battles and just liked what he was all about. And they were gracious enough to allow me to keep the brand that I had formed and still put the USA Prime name on it. There was a lot of, little addendums here and there, and it worked out. It was a fit. It made sense. And here we are. I brought 9 teams over at the time. COVID kind of knocked me down, and it's been kind of little back and forth here and there, getting back up.
Awesome. Kendall, same thing to you, baby. Where are we at within Prime? What's your role?
Well, I've done most of my coaching in high school level, and I knew Mark from when he was scouting. And so I got in contact with him because I was wanting to coach. I retired. So, you miss coaching 10 or 11 months a year. So I got in contact with him back in late summer about coaching in the fall. So we got hooked up in the fall, coached a team, and I enjoy helping kids, making kids better, helping them get better, helping them achieve their goals. And I like what we've gotten going so far.
Awesome. Yeah. I love kind of hearing from you guys. It's nice seeing different perspectives in different, areas. We were just talking about before this, guys that are listening, how it's 25 degrees over here and 80 degrees in little sunny Texas. So it's cool to see the different, cultures and kind of how we work together. So kind of going off of that, what is really the initial pull towards Prime? Mark, why did you make that jump?
I would just have to say, I kind of, as I said before, it really had to do with the people. Ryan Nelson was the biggest reason, in the vision that they had. They were talking about changing some of the things and taking care of coaches and creating the right culture, things like that. There was a few feathers ruffled when the new kid came to town. USA Prime, this area right here was full of good select baseball. I mean, Ryan had coached Bobby Witt Jr. the year before with, a team before they merged, before they came Prime. And all of a sudden now we've got Prime coming in, and we had a lot of good players right off the bat, and it ruffled a few feathers, to be honest.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely not.
Kendall, what was the moment that you realized that really Prime stood out to you, and this is where you want to, coach at?
Well, as soon as they showed up, they had credibility immediately. Had credibility. They were, one of the big boys. As Mark said, there's several big boys down here, organizations, and they come in, and they was one of the big boys right from the get-go. And I umpired 2 years ago after I retired. I did do some umpiring, and pretty impressed with with USA Prime. I've umpired some of their games, different teams, and I didn't have Mark. I gave him all the calls. I didn't have his team, but was impressed with the quality that they came in with. The quality coaches, quality players. It looked like a good organization. If you're a parent, you want player development. Player development is all about helping that kid get better, become what they want to be. And I think USA Prime certainly demonstrated that from when I was umpiring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen it affect our area greatly, and I'm sure you guys have seen it over there. And we're just growing and growing and growing, which is great. So kind of going off of that, obviously I know you guys. So for our listeners out there, what was your guys' background as far as baseball goes?
You want me to start?
Yeah, Mark, go ahead. Take it off first.
I guess once I finish you playing, coaching, all of it, or I'll abridge it. I played at Eastfield and finished up at Howard Payne. Was an all-conference outfielder and had a couple of accolades, and we won our conference and things like that. Got into coaching. I actually started with a legend around here, Steve Adair. The funny thing is, I learned a lot in college, but when you get with some of these guys that have been around it a while, even just where to stand when you're coaching, I learned a lot just from guys like that. Jack Sharp, I spent 10 years with him, and those guys right there teach you a lot about the game. I was with the Dallas Mustangs for 10 years, and that led me to really open a lot of doors, coach a lot of great players, and meet, that's where I met Ryan Nelson. He was coaching great players. Baseball is kind of a small fraternity, and it led to USA Prime. So I've been a high school coach like Kendall. My charter school won the state championship last year, and I've been fortunate enough to be around some good players too, and that's where we are.
Awesome. Kendall, same thing to you, man.
Well, I coached over 30 years in the public schools down here in Texas and was fortunate enough to win a state championship. And when you have great players and they play well, you get a lot of awards. We had a lot of individual awards, but I got one. I was the National Coach of the Year, which is a great honor. I never even thought in those terms when I started coaching. I do know when I first began, I was coaching at really small schools in Texas, and I'd go to the state tournament and I would see those big 5A or 6A schools now play and think, we don't have players like that. I'm never going to coach players like that. And then eventually down the road, I did. And Mark's been coaching those kind of kids for a long, long time. I didn't have that kind of caliber player until 2007. 2008 was the year we won it. But he was coaching kids that were playing on TV and playing, getting drafted. And so he's been around that high-level player longer than I have. And long story short, I had to learn how to coach I had to learn a lot of stuff about how to make a player better because I didn't have great players for a long time. I had kids that we were making better and competing and in making them better. A lot of it is instilling confidence. So those kids have great confidence when they go to the field that they can achieve and get it done. And that's a big part of coaching too. Now, when you have great players, they don't need that part. They're already confident. They already know that their abilities are high end. But anyway, I've had a long range of spectrum in 30 plus years of coaching. I've coached great players. I've also coached kids that, we felt like we made them a lot better and able to compete with good teams.
Yeah, I think it's a testament, to quite frankly, all three of us. We've coached at smaller schools that we got to turn, players into, develop them the correct way to get them to where they want to be. And I think it's something special that not only USA Prime brings, but, individually to all of us, right? So yeah, I appreciate that, guys. I think it's a good insight. I'll kind of open this up to both you guys, whoever wants to answer. First one we have kind of off the bat is, Prime obviously is now established in your guys' area. So how did that change when you guys first came over? How did that affect kind of your area?
I saw it firsthand. There was a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of feathers ruffled. I don't want to get into it too deeply, but it's kind of like, if I was going to use an analogy, we were the new pretty girl in school, and everybody was kind of coming talking to us, and it was like it didn't go over real well, and there was a couple of things that friends that I had in the industry, even old coaches and stuff, and I just couldn't. They were trying to wonder why I was doing what I was doing, and now it's played out, and everybody sees. I think it's competition,
Right.
Everybody, there's great. I think the organization has garnered the right respect it deserves now, but the first year or two, I don't think it got respected the right way, but it is now, and here we are, not going anywhere. So it don't mean that bad, and I've got great mentors, friends in this industry and on different organizations, and I love them. And but some of them were wrong. So I don't know if you're going to edit this out or not, but it is what it is. So,
hey man, it's
yeah.
I agree with you, and like we were the same way when we came in, like everyone was freaking
Yeah.
out, hey, whoa, what's going on here, big bad wolf. But we're all on the same page. We all want to
Yeah.
do best by these kids, and I'm a true believer that USA Prime is the best of the best, and I will always think that way and want to do best by these kids, and I think we offer the best. So plain and simple. When it comes to your region, and I love this question because I think everyone kind of has their own unique identity. My stuff over in Michigan obviously might be very different than what we do in Texas. So kind of what makes your area unique compared to, a Michigan or somewhere else around the country?
Take it away, Kendall.
Yes. Well, we were just talking about the weather. We have great weather. So these kids can play pretty much 10 months a year for sure. Younger kids, they'll go February all the way up through Thanksgiving with tournaments and take a week here or there off just to keep from burning them out. But what I like about Prime is practice. A lot of organizations, they play tournaments, but they don't work the kids out. They don't have a chance to get in there and help them get better individually. Like if we're at a BP session, you can tape a kid, film a kid. You can pull him out and show him some things he's doing wrong, try to help him. But a lot of them just show up and play. So if the kid's struggling, he struggles Thursday and he struggles on Friday, you don't have a chance to fix that. There's no time frame to work on something. But I've noticed that Prime likes to work those kids out. It gives you a chance to get in there and make them better, create some confidence that we were talking about, versus just saying you can do it. I'd much rather get some video on a kid and pull him out of the cage and look and say, hey, I think we found what's going on, and work on that, get back in there and have success. And then, like I said, when I was umpiring a couple of years back, I was impressed with Prime. I had several of their teams. I thought to myself, hey, they're hiring really high-end coaches. All these guys are great coaches. They're going to make these players better. And if I'm a parent, I want my kid to play a lot of games against good competition. I want them to travel and see different parts of the country, how those kids play in different areas or different pockets. And then I want the coach to be able to help my kid get better. And I think Prime offers all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a big reason why I came over to USA Prime. I think it takes a lot off of our plates and we can put it more into the players and development and getting those guys seen. So I completely agree with you guys. I know you both have extensive, awesome resumes. So Mark, I'll start off with you, man. Awesome success story that stands out to you. Could be anything, player, coach, team. What success story do you have that kind of represents USA Prime in your area?
That's a tough one, but I was thinking about it because I knew it was going to be a question asked. I've been fortunate enough to coach a lot of players at the high level, as Kendall has too. But the story that stands out to me is a kid that's done some things off the field. Julian Wang, he was a Plano West kid. Oddly enough, that's where Kendall coached some of his great years. This kid's a pilot. He's played with the Meyerson Symphony. I believe he scored a 1580 on his SAT, and I asked him about it, and he said, yeah, I'll do better on the next one or something like that. And I mean, so this kid is one of the most impressive individuals that I've ever coached, and played really hard. Talented, could play college baseball, but he's probably not going to utilize his time that way. He's got some other things going on in his life, but he's one of the most impressive kids I've ever coached. I've coached a lot of good ones and a lot of great families, a lot of great kids, but that one stands out to me. and I believe he graduated 2 years ago. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Kendall, what about you? Any success stories that kind of stand out?
Well, I've been lucky, and I've also learned a lot as I've gone along the road. Out of over 15 years of coaching 6A ball, I've made the playoffs every year except for one. 4 times ranked number one in our classification, 6A. 4 times ranked number one in the state. 2 times ranked number one in the nation. And I've just had great experience with learning everything that comes with being ranked early in the season, the pressure that comes on there, trying to keep that pressure off the kids, also trying to help them get a little bit better each day. That's what practice is try to get a little better each day. If we all get a little bit better each day, then we have a chance to be a great team at the end. And I've just had a lot of fun and a lot of enjoyment coaching some kids that got a little bit better each day. As Mark said, I did have some great players on some of those teams, but not all those teams had tremendous high-end great players. We just were able to, team chemistry is a big thing. It's maybe not as important to the normal person as what it should be, because team chemistry just allows you to be really good. I thought we had good team chemistry this fall with the group of kids we were coaching. They all got along well, had good team chemistry, and they're very coachable. Good families, and that's the thing that I've noticed all these years is I've always had good people with good families, and those are the ones that I like to coach. They listen, they want to get better. Those parents want them to have success, and so they'll do the things that you need them to do. And the other thing that I think you get from Prime is, hey, when you play a lot of games and a lot of tournaments in a lot of different areas, you as a player, you get to develop as, hey, get better. If I see a weakness in one of those tournaments, then I've got a chance to address it. And then when I get to my high school team, hopefully I don't have any issues. I have a solid game defensively, offensively, and knowledge of the game and base running and all that. And I know most of these kids, they do have aspirations to play college ball and or get drafted. And so when you have great families and those kids are great people, it just gives them all a tremendous edge on getting where they want to get to, versus a family that might have, they don't really care. And I just haven't coached those kind of kids. So I think what I've seen in Prime is ambitious kids with great parents to help them reach their ambition.
Yeah, and I think that goes right into kind of our next topic here is when we talk about development and culture. Like, I feel like you guys have absolutely set your guys' self apart. And I think it's a big piece of, USA Prime as a whole. So from that perspective, what does development look like to you guys within your Caveman group?
Honestly, the first thing that I do, you've got to have talented players, but once I find a player that could play with us, I do look at the family a little bit and the attitude, how they're going to mix. I've passed on a player or two before that was talented, but you could tell that they were not going to be the right fit for the group. And it was not, sometimes you can move on from a good player and the group gets better.
Yeah, 100%.
And so we try. It hasn't been really hard. I haven't had to sift through it very hard. We've got good people with maybe, I've been blessed. God's put me in front of a lot of good families, a lot of good people. Sometimes the talent isn't exactly where you want it to be. And that's even a great joy in coaching too. That's why we do it. I've been fortunate enough to coach, some player like one of them, Kyler Murray, some of those guys in the past playing in the NFL. There's guys playing in the big leagues. I didn't do as much coaching there as I did tweaking. You're tweaking little things or just talking to them about stuff. When you get to a different talent level, you get to do more coaching. And both of them, it's great both ways. But honestly, we're here to coach and make players better. And some of these players that I got early in my coaching career, they were headed for great things. And as much as anything, as a young coach, you're like, I'm not going to get in this guy's way. Right. Mm-hmm. And now you just learn a lot. Your ego goes away as you get older, and you just want to make the players better and just set them up, put them there, and you can lead them to the water and hope they drink it.
Yeah. Kendall, to you, kind of, obviously goes into culture type stuff. Is there a culture value or something, that you live by every day that kind of represents USA Prime Caveman?
Well, I'm a firm believer that, I like to keep that atmosphere positive. I like to keep it upbeat. I tell my guys all the time, hey, we should be able to smile and laugh and maybe cut up a little bit during practice. Say, if we're hitting and it's your turn to step into the cage, hey, you're locked in. But we should be able to enjoy practice and have a smile on our face. And when you do, those practices they're much more productive. They go faster. Time doesn't drag. And to me, development is a lot of things that when I was in high school, hey, we needed the equipment to make these kids or allow these kids to get better. We need the facility, it's all of it. And, part of that is just look the part. USA Prime has great looking uniforms. And I always told our guys, and I tell our parents in booster club meetings going back to high school ball, hey, we're going to be really good, but we also want to act and look like we're the real deal. And so great looking uniforms is part of it. We get off the bus and we look like $1 million. Hey, we've got players that look like $1 million, and then we play like we are those kind of players. But I love how Prime wants to take some time and get on a practice field, help these kids get better with their with drills or hitting, and we have time to help them get better. But then we show up at the ballpark. I mean, we look like $1 million. They're great looking uniforms, and some are real plain Jane and generic out there, but it kind of separates a little bit, puts you in, like a pretty girl catches your eye. And Prime kind of has that pretty girl catch your eye very quickly when you see them.
Yeah, and I think, like we've seen the national team play quite a bit. I'm sure even some of our teams, it's you see that presence on the field and they're warming up together, and you're like, yeah, we might get our butts kicked today. There's that presence, which I think is awesome, that we all kind of share that same philosophy of, look good, play good, warm up together, get ready for the game, and we're going to go beat you on the field. So I think that's awesome. The toughest thing that I know that I deal with, and a lot of the, other directors across the state, is, kind of balancing that development, recruiting, but also still making it fun for the game. So how do you guys approach that kind of balance between the three?
So I've been able to have higher level, lower level, I hate to use the word lower level, but, developmental type clubs before too. If a kid wants to play and they're serious about it and they've got just a little bit of talent, you try to find a fit for them. And if you've got a club that's got kind of a lot of guys like that, you just find the right competition level for them and get them in there. You don't want them to play over their heads. And if they're good enough to where they can get in there and play, and maybe they lose more than they win, but they win some games and they get better, there's that. And then there's obvious, there's good teams where I'll tell the directors in the tournament, put us in the best bracket. We want to be challenged. So I've been on both ends of the spectrum on that deal.
I like that.
Yeah.
Kendall, you same thing?
Yeah, I like to play, teams that we're equal to, or maybe a little bit better than us. And then if we are able to execute everything, hey, we can beat those teams. It's not that much fun for anyone to go steamroll someone who's not on your level. It's more rewarding and it's more gratifying when you play some teams that are just as good as you, but you have to do things right to win, or maybe a little bit better than you. And I like the fact that down here in Texas, we can get that kind of competition. There's so many teams, there's so much good weather that you can get day in and day out that concept of playing teams that are right with you. And that's where you get better also. Those kids can see that, hey, one mistake might get you beat, or they made one mistake and it got them beat. Versus if you're blowing somebody up, it's hard to go at the end of the day and say, hey, we need to fix this, this, and this. We can be a little bit better in those areas. And they're thinking, well, we just beat that team 11-0. I don't know if you are getting the message through to them when they have a game like that. But when you play those teams that are very even to you, everybody can see, they come down to one or two plays, and that's where you get better. Also, for high school, I did more high school ball these guys have them in the summer. I'm thinking, hey, the great benefit here is they've had those kids under the gun a lot. They've been in some really, it could be every day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, teams that are just as good as them. Someone has to come through. The other thing that I thought was a great benefit is they would travel around, play different pockets of Texas. For me to win a state championship, I'm going to have to play teams out of the South, teams out of the East, teams out of the North, teams out of the West. Well, these guys have already done that for me. Mark would take some of my players, and I knew, hey, we can travel 3 hours on a bus, get off, and play well, which is a concern. It's a concern whether or not can you on a Saturday travel on a bus and win a doubleheader in a 2 out of 3 playoff scenario. But I didn't worry because they've already done this for me. They have taken these kids and played great competition. They may play 3 times in a day. We're only asking them to play twice. So the benefits I felt like from teams like Prime and Mark is I'm not worried about those guys playing at a high level. I'm not worried about them being anxious or nervous and being in a big state. If they've done all that for us already. Now I'm part of that in the summer, so I can help some high school coaches down the road. But man, there is tremendous benefit with playing multiple games in a day and against good people and traveling and just handling all that, when to eat, the things to eat. So you're not going to have, oh, that didn't set well, I don't feel good. All that stuff we didn't worry about because Prime and coaches like Mark had done that already for us. All we got to do is prepare these kids during the week, get them there, and let them do their thing. Yes, we coach, but as Mark said, hey, you're going to let those kids play. But man, the where they've learned all that at is playing for organizations like Prime. That's where a high school coach has it easy nowadays because those kids are ready to go.
Yeah, and I know, I've talked to so many guys, from the college atmosphere. It's you go to a showcase or whatever else, they see that Prime logo and they're like, well, they were coached correctly. Like those are kids that easily you stand out, right? You go to a tournament or whatever else, you see that P logo. He knows what he's doing. I'm going to take a look at that guy. And I think it's really beneficial. I know, I'm sure you guys have seen it firsthand. It's nice to be, that kind of top dog, knowing that we're doing it right. So I think it's awesome. Go ahead, Mark.
I go back to very credible. It's a high reputable, credible organization. So yes, you're going to get, if your kids are playing, there's going to be a lot of college coaches inquiring about your guys because they know they have been coached well. That's the thing I noticed was that they have high-end coaches, and that's hard to do throughout or across the nation. That's going to be hard to do, but I haven't seen a Prime team that didn't have very, very experienced and quality coaches.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's a testament to all of us working together. Mark, you got so many Texas connections, I'm sure, where maybe I can't find a guy, a place in Michigan, but maybe a guy in Texas is looking for someone. It's nice to be able to have those, connections across the country.
Absolutely. And it's good to make this inroad with you too, Nick, because we need to go the other way on occasion.
Right.
Majority of the time, the kids around here want to stay in the good weather and stay close to home, but there are some unique opportunities where we maybe need some connections down there. Maybe they need a good ski lodge or something.
Yeah, there we go. We can easily provide that.
Networking always is a benefit.
Yes.
And we're talking about networking, and it's in every phase of the business world. Networking, do you know quality people somewhere else that can help, or vice versa? And like I said, everybody I've seen so far is very, very high end on the personnel side for Prime.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about expanding opportunities for our athletes, whether it's locally or nationally, I think that's a key term right there, Kendall. Just overdoing what we do on a typical day. and kind of going out there and kind of making these connections that, not many people can do, right? Like not everybody can call up a guy from Michigan and be like, hey man, like I got this guy and, I think he'd be a great fit here and so forth. So it's nice to make those connections across the country, right? I mean, I could even call a guy in California, our team out in California and be like, hey, who do we have? I got a guy that wants to go out in that area and is there a spot for him? But it gives us opportunities and it gives us resources, right? So looking ahead kind of a bit, Mark, this is probably more so for you, but where do you see USA Prime Caveman in Texas, 3-5 years from now?
It's so hard to predict because everything changes. Everything changes. Where the game is now is completely different than where it was 10 years ago. And then before that, when I played select ball, there was about 2 or 3 good teams, and that was about it. And now it's exploded. I hate to use the word. In some areas, it gets a little watered down, and that's fine. The more players that want to play the game, we want them all playing. You see it. You see all walks of life. You see more people getting interested. I think some of it has to do up top. They've sped up the game at the major league level. I think more people are watching. I think that feeds down. A lot of times parents hear about the money in baseball, and I try to tell them, look, that's great, but the percentages, I actually talked to a parent a couple of days ago, and she said something about the money being in baseball. I said, that's great, but do you really realize the percentages of getting to the money? So, but there are a lot more people interested in the game now, I think, than there were 5-10 years ago even. And I just think it's going to grow. What does that look like? I don't really know. I don't know, but I think it's just going to keep growing. And it's a great game. So
let me interject something there. It does cost some money to play in the summer and in the fall, but you can't invest your money any better than in your own kids. I mean, it's a wise investment. And so just talking about the money part of it, yeah, it takes money to get into tournaments, and but you get bang for your buck. Everybody wants their kids to be successful, and everybody wants them to have a great experience as a kid. They're only a child once or a young adult one time, and you want the best you can get for them. And so if you're a parent out there, it does cost in any organization, it costs money to sign up and play, but you're going to get there's no better investment investing in your own child, and you're going to get really good coaching. You're going to get good experience. You're going to be around good, positive environment. And if I was a parent, I'd be looking for those things for sure. And I won't bang for my buck. And I think you're going to get tremendous bang for your buck at Prime.
Yeah, and absolutely. She was more talking about the money when you get to the major leagues. And that's why I had to kind of dial that one back and say, well, the percentages of getting there are pretty low. I don't think there was any issue with paying to play. I think some of these parents look at it as an investment, and I didn't. My kid played too. I looked at it. I loved going to the games. He loved the game. And it was probably as much as anything entertainment / I never once thought of it as an investment. He played hockey too, and that was twice as expensive as baseball. You would know in Michigan, sir.
Oh, yeah.
But I just looked at it as it was something that he loved. It was a passion. And like Kendall said, you can't put a price on something that my kid wants to do if they're really into it and they put everything into it. I don't know what the price tag is where I'll stop, honestly. So,
yeah, I agree with you guys. And, we talk about it all the time, kind of, when it comes to growth type of stuff, like we're always trying to grow. Right. And I think it kind of gets that bad narrative of like, well, why are you trying to grow? Like, is it a money thing or whatever else? We're trying to grow because we think USA Prime, we do a phenomenal job at what we do. And we got to give as many kids as possible that opportunity to be within USA Prime. So, I think that goes with the growth part, and I think that goes with the money part. So I completely agree with you guys. Now, this is go ahead, guys.
I wanted to add one thought on that. I give lessons. I give private lessons and things like that. And if I really wanted to chase the money, I could just try to funnel all my players to myself. But what I tell them
Right.
at school on teams that play for me, whatever, it's not going to affect my lineup if you get lessons from me. But I tell them, go get them somewhere, because it helped me as a high school coach tremendously. Some, there was a time when it was getting big and some high school coaches were kind of offended. Well, your pitching coach is wrong, this and that. No, I wanted them to go get their lessons. I tried to get on the same page. I knew some of their instructors anyway. It only helped me as a high school coach to have some of my players be coached up by a guy that either played in college, played pro ball, something, and getting some things that you can't get at practice when you've got 50 kids around you. And so that part of it there is a big piece too, the private lessons part and things like that. But I'd rather them just get the message, and just, I don't care where they get the good message, and let's go.
Yep.
What I was going to say was, I think all of us here, when you're talking about expanding, is giving back to the game. Like, we had
Yes.
people invest in us when we were young and try to help us along. And it's our turn to give back, so when you're talking about expanding across the nation, you're just trying to give back to kids what someone had done for you. They'd invested time in you and the effort into making you have success, or allowing you to have success, but have some fun. And I think all three of us are in the boat of, we're going to give back to the game that's been really good to us. And that's more important,
Yes.
really, to me, than the money. I mean, yes, we all have to pay bills. We have bills to pay, but I like to see a kid get better. I like to see them grow, and also look back and go, hey, people helped me a lot. I had a lot of help to get to where I am, and it's my turn to give it back. And I think that's what you're talking about when you say expanding across the nation. Hey, let me give back to the community of what someone invested in me years ago.
Yeah, completely
Yes.
agree, guys. 100% agree.
I do want to add one thing I've seen with Kendall too. I feel fortunate and blessed to have run across Kendall, because you hear people say, well, we want to make kids better, we want to do that. No, I got to see it in the fall firsthand, and I saw what he's all about. I had seen it from afar, and I've always kind of admired his career, and I met him umping and things like that too. And I thought, man, if I ever got a chance to either bring him in with me, coach with me, something like that, I would jump on that opportunity. And it's here. I've got to watch him coach in the fall and the fall is different. You don't get as many kids to coach, but I've seen him coach on a small sample size, and I'm very fortunate to have been able to run to that our paths have crossed. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So nice of you, Mark.
I know now. Hey, all right, Kendall. That's all the nice comments.
Yeah, it's it right there. All right, so we're gonna get kind of more personal here. This is our last kind of segment for those listening still. For both you guys, I want you guys obviously both to answer this. What's been the most rewarding part about coaching these kids or running this organization, or quite frankly, anything in general? What has been the most rewarding part?
I think just being able to be around the game that I love all the time. You get paid for it. I wouldn't say I'd do it for free, because I've got bills to pay and I want to take care of my kids and family. But being able to spend time on the ball field and the camaraderie of the game, I know it sounds very cliche. It does, but it's true. Like, when I look back, I think of some of the road trips with Jack Sharp, some of the mentors that I've had in this game, and some of the great talks. And when I was he was a scout and still is a scout, and I was asking him questions. I was like a 24, 25-year-old trying to figure out just little things, and he was very gracious and gave me so much knowledge about everything, where to stand when we're coaching, why we do this. He's a guy that I've never seen outmanaged in a game. And I can say that truthfully. I've never seen anybody outmanage him. I've seen him lose games, but I've never seen him get outmanaged. I've been outmanaged. Not much, but I have. But, I think that's some of the people that you get to meet in this game and come across and learn from. And as I get older, I listen a little more than I talk. I try to take it in, throw some out, keep some, mix it up in the pot, and here we go. So,
I've enjoyed just being around some really great coaches from high school ball and in summer, people that are very much expert in the game, and I try to take as much information from them as I can and apply it to what I'm going to do in practice. But I get a great enjoyment out of seeing a kid get better. Certainly like to do at the end of a season, whether it's the summer or the fall. I like to be able to say you have improved immensely. You were here and now you're here, and I like to keep up with those kids after they leave because they're good people. I like to see what they're going to do in life and how they're going to what career they're going to choose. But I do know one thing: they're probably going to wind up coaching their kids when they're really small and they're not paid coaches at that point. So hopefully we've taught them enough about the game and how to handle different personalities that they can be good coaches for when they're 6U and 7U and 8U, when there's really not paid coaches yet. And it's just a couple of dads donating their time. Hopefully we've done a good job of giving them a base knowledge of how practice runs and how to be positive and how to go about correcting a mistake. And you can do it in a way where the kid doesn't feel offended, but you're going to help them get better and see how they go. I just like being around people, good people. I always like to surround myself with good people because good things happen. And I think that's a big part of why I do it. I like to give back to the game. I still like to see these, go on and be successful people when they leave us at 18U.
Yeah. And I think, I we always try to come up with a slogan every year. Ours this year is Prime on Top. And, I think that kind of goes right into, our next kind of topic here is just what makes Prime on Top and like what that means to you. I'll let you guys answer after this, but, from what you were saying, Kendall, to kind of give back and be able to give back that knowledge to not only the coaches, but the parents, the families, help them understand, recruiting type stuff or development. Like, I think that's a main reason why we kind of came up with the slogan. Not that we're the best of the best, but like Prime on Top, we're the best of the best. And we believe that we're the best of the best based off of our coaching philosophies, our culture philosophies, and so forth. So with that being said, this is like my favorite all-time question. And I'll ask for both of you guys is what does Prime on Top mean to you?
I personally, I just think it's a year-to-year battle, and it's every year. You may have been on top last year. Like right now, we won the state championship, and we're on top at my high school. But the first thing I'm going to tell them when we come out is that we're 0-0, and we're starting over every time. And it's a fight and a battle to get back on top every day, every drill.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it means to me.
Hey, to me, it would say I've always thought this, and it's true. It's hard to get on top, but it's harder to stay on top. So if I'm on top, it's very hard to get there. It's even harder to stay there. But hey, nothing rewarding comes easy. So when you go home and you feel great about an accomplishment, it was against a tough opponent, or it was a tough playoff scenario of whatever. For high school, it's 6 weeks long down here in Texas. So Prime on Top is the rewarding part. It's rewarding when you play great people and you can come out on top and do it week after week after week. That's hard to get there. It's hard to get on top. It's very hard to stay there, but you got to have a goal. If you don't have a goal, you can't accomplish anything. So, hey, Prime on Top, that's the goal. That's where we're trying to get to. You got to have that. We can't be successful without a goal.
Yeah, completely agree. And hey, with that being said, guys, I truly appreciate you guys coming on and, sharing your vision, your story. I love what you guys are building. I know I run ICC in Michigan, and it's reassuring knowing that we're doing, some of the right things and we're continuing to grow as a whole. And with that being said, we really appreciate everyone for listening. We got a little thing over here where you guys can like, comment, and Subscribe. Prime Caveman on all social media platforms. Mark, I did not know if you have a website or not. You have a website?
We do not. No, we do not.
Okay. So we got one coming for you.
Okay.
So at the moment, you guys can go check us out at usaprimesports.com. We do have some brand new websites coming out where you guys can check out USA Prime Caveman. You can check out Mark. You can contact Kendall, and so forth. As always, you can always follow us on USA Prime Baseball. We got TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it nowadays. Facebook,
Nick,
and
I think
Instagram.
I think Kendall's gonna sing and do a dance on TikTok. Are you, Kendall?
Yeah, I'm very talented. Very, very talented. So,
That's what I like to hear. So you guys will be able to take a look at that on our TikTok. That is soon to come.
We really
So with that being
appreciate
said,
you, Nick.
Yeah. Hey, with that being said, I appreciate you guys, and I hope to do this, more often.
yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah. Thanks
With
a
that
lot.
being said, we will kind of cut this thing short. This will be probably a Christmas themed one. Let's see if I got a little something fancy here. Look at that. I can put a little gingerbread icon in there. Woo!
Excellent.
That's just for Mark right there.
Thank you.
All right. We appreciate everyone watching. This is Everything USA Prime. We wish everyone a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas. Mark and Kendall, thanks again. And as always, Prime on.